I invite the other two members of the syndicate to join in for the Q&A session. In the meanwhile, let me just summarize briefly and highlight some of the points brought out by the syndicate. You'll agree that this presentation was not just about the stuff that makes out air power, but more about the larger meaning, the significance to warfare, and its instrumentality for formulating a national strategy. This is what is the crux of what they brought out here. And like they remind me of the famous air power theorist Duhay, what he had said almost a century ago, that victory smiles not upon those who smiles upon those who anticipate the changes in character of war, and not on those who wait to adapt themselves after the changes occur. I may not be precise in the quotation, but it is words to that effect. What we have to agree is that the technological advancements and the rapidity at which air power needs to adapt to technological changes is become so complex that prediction of the character of future warfare is going to become more and more difficult. It definitely requires in-depth study, in-depth theorizing, falling back on air power theories, and of course strategizing about the possibilities of what air power can do, like the syndicate has very rightly brought out. In fact, they brought out the frank recognition of air power's situational limitations, and contrary to common belief that air power can be escalatory, they very clearly brought out that air power in fact can be used for escalation control. In the end, I think it's the sound strategy of use of air power has the potential to unlock the capabilities of what military power can bring to the nation and to be able to achieve deterrence and victory in war. So I think the syndicate has quite coherently presented the factors that constitute air power and how it is determinant in helping the nation achieve deterrence and victory. I think we'll throw the house open for questions. We have about 10 minutes. We are a little behind time. So quickly take on 3 or 4 questions at a time. Yeah.
Thank you, the panel. I think both the syndicates, my heartfelt compliments on a marvelously conducted and 2 invaluable presentations. And I think the credit must go to the fact of the success of the WASP course, that every new course makes the previous courses look relatively illiterate. So, fantastic. 2 important aspects I wanted to bring out relating to the first and the second presentation as well is in the larger strategic directions. Is that in all the points you covered, and it was alluded to, and not even alluded, it was discussed in depth and detail, but it wasn't brought out in so many words, I think. It's just a food for thought, is that the strategic offensive capability of a nation is, I think, the most important aspect, and that is what has come out in Sindhu. While air defense kept us safe, but what shaped outcomes and decisions was a strategic targeting. So the strategic offensive capability, should it not be an area of sustained capacity and capability building in our future in every aspect? And I feel that has not come out. One word of caution on air defense and especially on drones. Yes, most certainly they've expanded the scope of of use of the air, but they are not necessarily an end to themselves in terms of shaping strategic outcomes. So I think strategic offensive aspect is something we need to really bear in mind. And with it linked 2 other aspects for the future. One is, we talked about air domain awareness, and I think it needs to translate into aerospace domain awareness, which includes the airspace and the near space. Please notice I'm not including the outer space. That's an entirely different kettle of fish. But aerospace domain up to the Kármán line, because all your weapons, future vectors will transit through it, and it gives you reaction time. So with aerospace domain awareness, naturally which will build up to, that means you get aerospace situational awareness, and now you expand air defense into aerospace defense. So I think these are the 3 factors in fact. Strategic targeting for shaping outcomes, air domain awareness for larger aerospace situational awareness, and third, be able to defend ourselves. So your thoughts on this?
I think there's one here right in front, the Air Chief Tipnis.
Just an observation. This question about escalation control, are we mixing it up with deterrence? How do you differentiate between escalation control and deterrence? In fact, what we have to concentrate more on is the ability of air power to escalation leapfrogging. That you can go from 0 to max or any level in between. So deterrence and escalation control, I think, should not get mixed up. The second thing I want to talk in terms of is your technology development. Now, you have to, talk in terms of interacting with a nation which wants a new weapon system which also coincides with our requirement. And therefore, the development of this system enhances the capabilities of both partners. That is why actually this BrahMos, why was it a success? Because BrahMos came up because it was a requirement of both sides. And that is why it was such a great success. This is what you have to bear in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll let the syndicate take on these questions.
Thank you. It's been really an excellent experience to hear you all. And I just want to compliment you also on, particularly on the recommendations. They have been so clearly brought out, and this is something which needs to be looked at by the Air Force, by the leadership right now. I have just one point, and that is based on what the recommendations you brought out so clearly and so, I would say, professionally. Op Sindoor is still on. We are still in a state of, you may call it, conflict. And we know very well that the next conflict is not if, it is when. It is inevitable. We also know that based on Op Sindoor, there were certain limitations on us which we observed. Those limitations now, I'm sure that the Air Force, the current leadership in the Air Force, are now going to build up and catch up with it. All of us veterans have experienced that any time we wanted to improve our status, our professional status, our operational status, it would always be a long drawn steps to get to our objective. It never happened. I know very well, we all know here, sitting here, that ODL, SDR, 20 years, 25 years, we still don't have it. How are we going to manage to ensure that the next conflict, when it comes, we are not only those 2 steps ahead, but we are another 10 steps ahead, because your enemy is sitting now, thinking he's a glorious, service, and he's thinking 10 steps ahead of us. I hope that issue has to be underlined and brought out in your recommendations, and I'd be like your response to that. Thank you.
So I'll take on the first question. Basically, the ability to defend ourselves is what you're looking at, the air defense part. So when we consider the offense-defense balance, even Clausewitz says that defense is the best form of war. However, he says that it has to be mixed with counter-attack. So that is the philosophy with which we work. So air defense is one part where we have seen that it is quite effective. However, finally, the positive response or positive outcome which comes in any war is through the counter-attack or through the strategic effect what sir was referring to. So strategic offense capability wise, capacity building, that is what we also highlighted, that in the ongoing Ops Sindoor, capacity building so that the demonstrated aerospace capabilities can continue to work in unison. So that is one more way how we can go about. You're right, sir, that we should not go into too much thinking about air defense or drones as any silver bullet, because we have seen that this is the character of war, that it keeps on changing. Sometimes offense takes priority and sometimes defense takes priority, and the technology also changes. So this has been seen in 1967 Arab-Israel war. So Israel had air power capability and they did air strikes, while in the later part in 73, air defense had taken a major leap. So this cycle will continue, and this cat and mouse game will continue at all times. So we have to work through them and have innovative solutions to what we already have. Coming to space situational awareness, near space and aerospace situational awareness. So first is that we already have some kind of an software, but we don't have the entire capability for space situational awareness. So for that, maybe we could look at having a kind of an structure. In the peacetime, we have that structure. Maybe in wartime also we can have that structure, having some kind of issue-based alliances with different partners like USA, so that we have that aerospace domain awareness which goes right from the surface to near space.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. I think what Marshal Chaudhary was referring to is not the balance between air dominance and air denial theories. Okay, the jury is still out on that as to which theory to follow. The question is that if you are following an air dominance theory where you need to build up strategic offensive capability, undoubtedly so. Okay. The point is, how do we graduate into building up a capacity that is going to give us this capability of having air dominance over a near peer adversary? So that is the challenge that we need to think about.
Sir, on question on escalation and deterrence, as in the deterrence is defined by many of the readers which in the question capsule which we went through. What we were talking about was primarily there's one school of thought which says that deterrence, the moment the first bullet is fired, deterrence has failed and coercion or compellence takes over. And then there's one school of thought as propounded by Herman Kahn and Glenn Snyder, who talk about graduated deterrence, wherein you can look at Ops Sindoor through both the lenses, wherein when we fired the first, we tackled the terrorist camps, that was, and then we pulled back and told that this is what we have done, and we have set a new deterrence. The moment Pakistan fired, that deterrence failed, and when we went for their airfields, and we set another level of deterrence. So this is one aspect of deterrence, which can in Western philosophy takes the words of compellence. So when deterrence fails, compellence takes over. The escalation ladder per se is what we were talking about is the escalation ladder. Herman Kahn talks about it. Escalation control includes the ability for escalation dominance, which you nicely put as escalation leapfrogging, which also is seen in Ops Sindoor, wherein we achieved escalation dominance by striking deep in Pakistan territory, wherein Pakistan didn't have the wherewithal to up the escalation ladder from where we had set, we had achieved the escalation dominance. So both are aspects which we brought out during the presentation.
So I'll take on the third question regarding the limitations in Ops Sindoor. Sir, we had many limitations which came out, but the biggest limitation as per the syndicate, what we think was the limitation in cognitive domain. And we have to build up strategies and technologies to counter this. And for this, we have already recommended, and we have read a book in which Eric Beinhocker about the complex adaptive system, which he says that we should adopt a multi-pronged strategy, which he says that it's a kind of bushy strategy in which you invest in multiple things, and result is like in one you will succeed, in one you will fail, but the one in which you will succeed, it may offset for the one in which you have failed. So we have to adapt a multi-domain kind of strategy. Secondly, regarding there is a lot of information which is coming in during this kind of escalation or war. So the most important thing is we need to have a decision support system, especially at operational level, which can help you to filter out and make decisions. So in this, we can take help of artificial intelligence and machine learning.
I think we have completely run out of time to take on any more questions. Let me just conclude by saying that I think we've heard two very interesting presentations today. And the bottom line is that the potential of air power needs to be understood by all practitioners of military art. History will not be kind to leaders who do not understand strategy and technology. I think graduates of this course and future editions of WASP will definitely carry forward the thought that it is as important to understand strategy and technology as it is to understand operational art. So let me conclude by requesting all of you to give a big round of applause to all the participants.